Oh my Lanta. Rank these 6 Green Lanterns from weakest to strongest in their base form. Let's do this. And as a massive Green Lantern fan, this is going to be fun. I'm sure I'm going to break some hearts along the way. And of course, the first heart I'm going to break is my own. Unfortunately, Kilowog is going to be at the bottom. Despite the fact that Kilowog is one of the most badass Green Lanterns that were ever created in terms of feats, statements, and showings, he's just not as good as the rest. Coming in next is Guy Gardner, someone I was debating on putting higher because he has some obscene durability and AP feats. And he's willing to throw fist with or without the ring. However, compared to the rest, Guy just doesn't have as much as others. And then coming in next is going to be John Stewart. A fan favorite, mostly due to the Justice League in Justice League Unlimited cartoon. Unfortunately, in the comics, John Stewart just doesn't fare as well. He almost never has his own individual solo Green Lantern title, and when he's thrown on teams like the Justice League, he doesn't really do much or show much. Outside of getting amps and upgrades like the Godstorm, or the Ultraviolet Lantern Ring, John Stewart's showings are just not as impressive. Take, for example, that him and the rest of the Green Lantern Corps were struggling and losing to an Amp Sinestro Corps team at the beginning of Rebirth. Something that Hal Jordan was able to solo alone. John Stewart's great, but he's just a good Green Lantern. Thankfully, he's finally getting a solo title for the first time in Mosaic, which isn't garbage. Green Lantern War Journal is great, and you should read it. Next is Kyle Rayner, the Torchbearer. And unfortunately, Kyle Rayner suffers from the same problem as John Stewart. While Kyle in his base does have better feats, showings, and statements, his most impressive stuff is becoming the White Lantern, mastering the emotional spectrum, or being amped by Ion. When he doesn't have these amps in major events, especially in the past 15 years, Kyle Rayner is unfortunately usually on the sideline. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Alan Scott, the OG Green Lantern. Often overlooked, mainly because he's so different from the other Green Lanterns, his power coming from the Starheart, and the fact that he was never part of the Lantern Corps, Alan Scott is an absolute beast, who has been throwing hands and kicking ass on a regular basis because he's that guy. In recent years, Alan Scott has been getting a boon of feats, statements, and showings that put him above Kyle Rayner. He is a menace to society and should not be taken lightly. But without a doubt, the number 1 spot is the greatest Green Lantern of them all, Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan has performed better feats and showings in his base form than many of these characters with amps and upgrades. Doing wild stuff that has never been done before, like making Green Lantern rings out of his own willpower. And they're actual rings, not just constructs. The fact that wearing his ring, his willpower is so powerful that it imprints his personality onto you. Hal Jordan has gone up and taken out heavy hitters, regularly fighting heavy hitters. And like I said before, Hal is so above other Green Lanterns in his base form that when the Sinestro Corps was amped at the beginning of Rebirth, the Green Lantern Corps was losing the entire Corps. But Hal Jordan rolls up on World and proceeds to solo the entire amped Sinestro Corps, and then fights and beats up an amped Parallax Sinestro by the Fear Engine. He's the embodiment of will itself. He's such a powerful nexus of will that the First Lantern said that he's actually a more powerful nexus of will than the central Green Lantern power battery. He's literally above Ion. And he had a 3-way with Lady Blackhawk and Huntress. And listen, maybe your list is different. Maybe you have Kyle higher. Maybe you have John higher. That's fine. There's no problem with that. But there's one undeniable fact that Hal Jordan's at the top. He is indeed the greatest Green Lantern of them all. And that's not just a moniker. That's not just a quote or a title. Hal Jordan is indeed the greatest Green Lantern of them all. And that is shown by the fact that all of these characters need amps and power-ups and transformations and upgrades just to simply be in the same conversation as Hal Jordan. You can have your favorites. You can change your list. But there's no denying, and don't lie to yourself, Hal Jordan is indeed the greatest Green Lantern of them all.